We're about to walk into the biggest week in the stock market's history. In case you have not heard, Trump's tariffs have some exclusions. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what those are and how they're going to influence your ability to make money every single day this week as a day trader. Let's not waste any time. Right over to TradingView. I want you to go ahead and reference this news article. It's going to be written by Reuters. You'll see right here. This is all you need to know. Semiconductors, flat panel displays, and essentially tech products such as Apple. So think Apple, NVIDIA, and those types of names. The names that weigh heavily upon NASDAQ and S&P, those are the ones that are getting the free pass. This should be shaking the house, right? You should be on fire hearing this type of stuff, because what this is going to do is set off such a big catalyst for investors and funds alike that you're going to see a lot of upside potential. This is what the charts are going to be looking like, and I'm going to break this down for you and show you exactly where you should be looking to get positioned. If you have not checked out last week's video, we talked about how we potentially called the bottom with the pause on tariffs, the 180-day pause. This right here is an acceleration of that by allowing certain products to be excluded from these tariffs. Now, looking over here, we're going to go ahead and start with, let's go ahead and start with the ES, S&P 500, and we'll look at NASDAQ as well, in addition to individual names, VIX, and so forth. What we have here on ES from our video last week, we did reference this monthly order block, this series of down close candles. Right here, we came into it and we reacted well so far. The idea is that I expect this to push towards the highs very soon. This is a market that has changed fundamentally in terms of its outlook into the near future, where we went from overly pessimistic to now seeing how some of these band for band kind of scenarios with these reciprocal tariffs are starting to pay off. We see that a lot of politicians and a lot of world leaders alike are trying to make amends and make this something that is mutually beneficial. We're in the driver's seat. The bulls should be ready. You should not be concerned with too much more downside as of this current moment. My personal plan, I will explain to you as we go on, and then we will look at individual names as well. Some of these names I'm already positioned on, some of these names I'm looking to add, and so forth. But with ES right here, specifically referencing this monthly area of demand, this monthly order block, I expect, like I said, higher prices. What we see on the daily, we had a little bit of an inside day, right? We are coiling on these previous daily highs. I did trade this on Friday successfully, broke that down in the Discord. I went ahead and yeah, you can go ahead and check that out. Premium levels, Discord, free to join, link below. But back to the charts, what we see here is actually, it's very simple. We are looking for this to be a higher low and then a higher high. If we can get that follow through, then we really have something to play with. I mentioned this before, but when I did, we did not have the information that there has been an exemption for these tariffs. That's big. That means that we have the potential to gap up or gap down, of course, but I'm leaning more into the gap up scenario. So if we gap up, the question is, how is the market going to perceive that? Are we going to see broad bullishness across sectors, across products, into crypto? You know, it really depends, but that is my thesis. I do believe we will see acceptance higher and we will see a lot of excitement across different assets. So looking at the charts, ES, we want to see us get towards this 5,800 level, ideally towards the 6,000 level this week. Those are my main upside levels of interest. Ideally, we hold this 5,350, 5,400 area, 5,200 being the last line of defense. So I want you guys to be sure that you are writing down these levels. Of course, I have these levels written down. I will provide them in the Discord as well. But for your own study and your own edification, you should be doing this as well. Going over to our next one, we're going to look at NQ. It's going to be very similar. I'm preferring NQ slightly more in just index trades right now. I will like this for the upside. And ideally, we see 19.5 to 20,000 or 19,950 to 20,000. That's essentially what I want to see as price starts to develop. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the whole watch list and explain some things to you guys. You can see right here on VIX, cut in half. We're seeing VIX collapse. We're seeing this fold over from nearly 50, which is a level that I have not seen traded consistent days in a row. I don't think ever. I've never seen VIX that high. And to see that was honestly shocking. So when something like this becomes so volatile and then the reversal starts to happen, if this continues to accelerate to the downside, that is jet fuel for equities. We can see that in Apple, one of the craziest potential daily setups right here. There is a massive news catalyst for Apple. So I do anticipate Apple to be gapping upwards of 220. Of course, this can be maybe not perceived as positive for Apple, but I do not see a world in which we do not at least attempt to gap higher with such a positive catalyst. After years of trading options and understanding how stocks in play, when they have a positive news driver like this, they really will start to lead the market, and they don't have to mirror the market. This thing can start to have its own personality if that news sticks, essentially. Now we could look at a few other names. We have Amazon's as well. Amazon's going to be another type of name where you would expect this to see some sort of sympathy with the overarching narrative of these exemptions. You have Tesla, of course, kind of just holding its daily range, right? We talked about this daily range where you can expect to see a break of this to one side or the other at some point in the future. And then, of course, the NVIDIA, the darling, we've been seeing this thing kind of round out for a bit, but it seems that it might be finding a bid at the bottom of that range, which we already see, right? The question is, are we going to begin to push towards all-time highs? NVIDIA is the market. If NVIDIA gets that bid, the index will follow. So that's very important to remember. Go over Robinhood. Robinhood's still the same location we talked about, but with all of these charts in mind, you want to be sure that you're positioning yourself to catch the full move. Now, what I'm going to be doing personally this week is I'm going to be trading over on my 150K Top One account. You can go ahead and check out Top One if you want. 150K account, $400 all month with my code DTA. This allows me to trade more size than I typically could by getting instantly funded. With this, I can trade up to, for me, I'm trading, up to 2 minis, but like, typically speaking, 8, 5, 3 micros with NASDAQ. It really just depends. We've been seeing some snap neck volatility. So these smaller accounts that you might be copy trading with the 50Ks, they just don't work when your average candles on the NQ have been like 100 points, in a couple minutes versus a day. So the volatility has really made it important that you have the proper size account for what you're trying to accomplish. Day to day, I'm going to be focused on the index. However, I have already started positioning, on this entire sell-off in equities as well as crypto. We can go ahead and compare some crypto charts because you're going to want to see all of these things start to move together. You can see that Bitcoin has started to form a little bit of a weekly base right there, pulled back to this area of fair value. Is this your higher low for then us to go higher highs? I do believe so, yes. And this is something that you want to see move in sympathy with the market as well. Same thing goes with the other big three of crypto, right? You have the Ethereum's. Is Ethereum going to start to form a bottom here where then we can start to trade higher? I would hope so. Maybe it starts to consolidate longer. I mean, we did see all of this. However, if sentiment is changing and this was a rapid depreciation, it could be seen as overdrawn, and then we can see a snap to the upside. If a sentiment is too off sides and there is a mispricing in where the asset actually lies, that's when you see rapid appreciation. So that is something I want you guys to keep in mind. It's not about, oh, it went down, so now it has to go up slow. No, these things can genuinely change their pricing very quickly. We saw that the moment that Trump announced the pause. We saw repricing faster than I've ever seen. Hundreds of points higher in minutes. Never before seen that. So this is really important for you guys to keep in mind moving forward into the rest of this week. I want you guys to be prepared, show up every single day with a game plan. You want to have a simple game plan that is repeatable and that you can replicate over and over. Because if you do something that is too specific, that it is not applicable to every scenario or the majority of scenarios, you're simply going to miss out on this maybe once in a decade volatility. So keep that in mind. Understand that markets are not perfect. Your ability to adapt is ultimately what's going to set you apart as a trader, and you are rewarded for the opportunities that you're able to align with, not being perfect. If you want to be perfect, go do something else. Trading is about generating consistent returns with a reasonable amount of risk and never putting yourself too far out on the line. So I hope you learned something in today's video. These levels are going to be what I'm looking for every single day. Essentially what I want to show you again, just to make it very clear, on NASDAQ, higher low. So you get this lower low. I want to see this higher low. I want to see us above this little base right here. Let's just call it 18.8 up to, all this. I want to see this previous new week opening gap traded to 20,000 is my main level of interest. So I'm thinking my range is going to be 18.5 to 20K. That's what I want to trade. So I'm going to be trading primarily to the up. But however, if there is an opportunity to counter trade, maybe I'll look at that. But my primary bias is higher prices based on the underlying narrative, the technicals on the chart. We can look at a plethora of different tools, whether you use fair value gaps or volume imbalances or volume profile. You will see that these things tend to align. There is no one size fits all approach with the market. You can go ahead and pull up any number of indicators. You see volume profile. And essentially what we have here, if you go to the weekly chart, see right here, boom. If you get it to load, Yeah, you see, we bounce off this weekly volume point of control. Is it really just that? Or is it maybe, I don't know, this order block that we notated, this monthly support level? It's all the same thing. It's a visual representation of price data. So don't ever get too confined to your box. Understand that there are more than one way. There's more than one way to do things. So hope you learned something in today's video. Short and sweet. Try to get this out to you a day early so that you are prepared. I am personally expecting Sunday's gap open to be higher, and I expect there to be a lot of volatility. I believe that this catalyst can mirror what we saw when NVIDIA had that DeepSeek headline that came out not that long ago, a couple months ago at this point, and you saw a massive gap down in the market. I do believe that this is substantial enough to see that type of volatility just based on the positioning and the options flow that I saw ahead of the weekend. You know, typically when you see a big move and there's a lot of people positioned before it, maybe they kind of knew something. With that kind of positioning, it is very safe to assume that the market is going to perceive this as healthy and a positive catalyst for price to move higher. So if you're unfamiliar with how to trade any of these breaking news headlines or anything of that nature, I highly recommend considering adding that type of analysis to your playbook. You need to be aware of how the news is driving the market because we are in a headline arena. Essentially, whenever news hits, price moves. So it's very different with a typical trader's market where you're kind of going sideways back and forth, where we're leading right now by purely narrative. So just leave it there. Hope you enjoyed it. If you learned something, please share it in the comments, leave a like, share this with a friend, and we'll talk soon. Take care.